Good morning, Lowbrook Academy and Holy Trinity. Welcome to Mrs. Casey's next maths lesson. We are going to start with our little starter that we've been doing every week. So let's get cracking straight into multiplication. I'll hold up my hands, you hold up your hands, and you're going to times my number by your number. And let's say it nice and loud for everybody to hear. Okay, ready? Oh, and you go on three. So 1, 2, 3, show. Okay, let's do that again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so hopefully that was a little bit of practice of your times tables. So moving forward, today we are going to be doing translation. So shall we go and find out what that actually means? Let's go. Translation is not rotation. We are not moving an object around. Translation is not making something bigger or smaller. Translation is sliding. Whoops. I think I might have destroyed my husband's bike. Anyway, so translation isn't rotating or getting smaller or bigger. It's all about sliding. So let's get cracking with today's lesson. Let's go over today's learning intention. Can I accurately translate a 2D shape? So what does that mean? Well, my class will know from when we are together that we use this word a lot, accurately. So to do something in a certain way, precisely to get the accurate answer, so the right answer. So we're doing something accurately today. What are we doing accurately? We are translating, okay? So we've just gone over translating and what it means. So we are not rotating. We are not making a shape bigger or smaller. We are looking at sliding, moving a shape. That is what translation is. So we're going to be accurately translating, and what we're going to be translating, a 2D shape. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And as I mentioned on my class's Google Classroom, but just in general, that you will need squared paper or squares on a computer to do this. You can draw vertical lines on lined paper, but be careful it's done with similar distance between the lines. So we're doing translation, which means you must have some sort of squared paper or screen to be able to accurately translate the shape. Okay, moving forward. Well, today at the end, our follow-on task is going to be some artwork. Okay, so we're going to use what we learned today to make some artwork at home, which will be really fun. And here are some examples of our challenge artwork that I will be talking about in a little bit more detail at the end of the lesson, about how you can do what you've learned, how you can use, what you've learned today to create some really cool art. So that's what our exciting little end game is going to be. Right, so let's get stuck in, shall we? As I've said, translation means to slide. And here I've got a little rectangle on my squared paper with some Y and X axes. Now, we are going to be moving or translating, shall I say, the shape today using instructions. So as you can see, I wanted just to very briefly go over. We've got obviously up and down, which I think you'll all know pretty well. But we've got left and right, which is the one we have to not be confused by. So we've got left, and it's what's easy to remember is if you hold up your thumbs and your fingers, I'm going to do this, hold up your thumbs and fingers, your left one looks like a capital L. So you've got left and right. So the shape today can be translated up or down, left or right. So we're going to be doing that with instructions today. The first one I'm going to show you, we're going to be translating using one instruction. It says move the rectangle up 2. Now, in order to move a rectangle accurately, we actually look at the corners of the shape. So I'm going to mark them off. So I've got one corner here, and we could even label it A, if that makes it a bit easier for you. And it says to move the rectangle up by 2. Now, this is what you must do, guys. You must, a little bit like when we count a number line, you must jump a square, and that counts as 1. So 1, that's 1 jump. 2, there you go, it says count up by 2, so then we know that that corner is now going to be there. That is how we jump. What we don't go is we don't start on a corner and go 1, 2. You don't do that, guys, okay? You've got to jump first and then say 1. Ready? So start with me again. Let's start on the A. Count with me. And jump. Jump. 1. Jump. 2. That's very important, or your translation will be wrong. So you jump first, then say the number. Okay, so I'm going to move up by 2 now for this corner. So jump 1, jump 2. You don't have to label them, but you can. There's your A. Right, this corner, jump 1, jump 2. Here's my next corner. So I should have done that. I'm going to do this corner. So that can be corner B. This can be corner C. Ready, jump 2. This is harder now because you actually got to jump within the shape as well. Ready, jump 1, jump 2. There it is, there's B. Okay, here is, oh no, I've labelled that wrong, apologies. That was B. See, this is how it's easy it is to go wrong. You've got to make sure you label them right. Okay, so I've done A, B and C, and here is D. Okay, ready? Jump 1, jump 2. There's D. Okay, so now I know where my corners are. I'm actually going to, so what you would do is with a ruler now, you will draw that shape. So you can do it on with the computer as well, if you're doing this on a computer. So I'm using my straight lines from the computer, there. And there is my new shape being translated up by 2. And that's all you've got to do. So you've got to concentrate on the corners and move each individual corner up, marking as you go. And you can label them A, B, C, D, or whatever letters, but you don't have to, okay? So now that you've seen me do an example, here are 2 questions for yourselves. You've got 2 graphs with 1 instruction underneath each. I would like you, please, to have a go at these, remembering to jump first, then say 1. Read the instructions, and please can you translate the shapes. Pause the video now to have a go. And there are your answers. Okay, so you should have something very similar to this drawn. Now don't worry, because you're having to do it on your own squared paper, so it might look slightly different, but the important thing is that you'll have a two square gap between question 1 and a 1 square gap between question 2. So it doesn't matter if it looks slightly different because of your paper. The main thing is that you've got the same distance, which shows you that you've moved the square 4 to the right accurately, and you've translated the rectangle 3 down. Right, let's move on to something a little bit more trickier. So, as always, I'm going to do one and then you're going to follow up with some questions yourself. So, can anybody spot what's different about this question? Have a look round. Good, hopefully you've told me that the difference is that it has 2 instructions. Okay, so we are going to be translating the shape twice, effectively, or moving it twice. So, let's start with the first question. Here's my rectangle, and it says to move the rectangle up by 8 and right by 3. So we're going to do the first instruction first, ironically. So I'm going to get my marker. Right, so move the rectangle up by 8. So we're going to start on one of the corners. I'm going to label that A. And just like we had before, I'm going to move it up by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I'm not finished, am I? Because I need to also move it right. So you're going to do both instructions for each corner. So I've moved it up by 8, but that's not where the rectangle goes. I now have to move it right by 3. So you jump first. Ready? Jump 1, jump 2, jump 3. There is my A. Okay. So we went up 8 and right by 3. Let's do the same thing for the B corner. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to go right 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, I'm going to do it in this colour so you know. There's B. Okay, right, let's do this corner, which we're going to label C. Right, let's go up by 8 first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right by 3. 1, 2, 3. There's my C. Okay, last one. This is D now. Ready? Gonna go up by 8 first, then right by 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. There it is, and you can see that my corners have now all moved up by 8 and right by 3. And I'm going to, either with a ruler or the lines on your computer, you will do the same. You're going to recreate, that's not very accurate, is that? We'll do that again. Not very straight. We're going to recreate the shape. Now, noting that actually, it's really important, guys, that when you recreate these shapes and you draw them, that you use the lines. That's why we're doing it on squared paper and not on plain A4. These lines, these corners, are precisely on the edges of each square, and my lines are following the square. It's very important that you do that, otherwise your translation is not accurate. So if we go back to here and we've translated, those corners are all level and they're all on the lines. Please make sure, you might even need to go back to your questions actually and just double check that they are accurately drawn on the lines of the squared paper and the corners are in the right place. So go back and check. So that is very important. You are now going to try and do these questions. They are asking you to move or translate the shape twice. You have 2 instructions to do, and like I've just said, you need to make sure that you are using the lines on the paper to help you draw the shape accurately. Pause the video now and have a go at both of these questions, please. Okay, here are your answers. Now again, as I said, your squared paper might look a bit different, so your actual answers might look a bit different. However, the distance between the shapes should be the same. So here, my triangle went down by 7 and then left by 10. So it ends up all the way over here in this part of the grid. And my pentagon started here and it went up by 9 and left by 2. So it went from here to here. So have a look and make sure that your drawings are similar and on the lines. If they're not, go back in with a ruler and make sure that they're accurately translated, please. Right, drawing correctly has never been so important, guys, because this next question is very tricky. It is a tricky shape to translate. And the reason for that is, I wonder if anyone can tell me. Okay, good. I should be hearing there. The reason why it's tricky shape to translate is because it's got lots of different angles and unusual little corners to have to translate. Very tricky. But I would like you to have a go. A little tip for you when you try to translate this one is you still need to be going by the corners. Okay? If you use the corners, you should be able to translate still. But the drawing is very key here. You've got 2 instructions to move the star. Please pause the video and go on, give it a try. Okay, well done. If you had a go at that, that is where your star should have ended up, okay? You move the star left by 8 and down by 11. So it ends up right at the bottom of my grid. It might not be at the bottom of yours, your grid might be bigger. But you should be 8 squares left and down by 11 squares. So just double check that and make sure that all of your corners, you can see my corners of my star are touching the edges of a square and the middle of a square, and that's what you need to be doing. So check that your star is accurately translated. So what have we learned today, guys? Well, let's go back to our learning intention. We have accurately, and that was very important, wasn't it? Because that was all about how we drew something, and that it was precisely on the lines and had moved precisely into the right squares. So accurately drawn and counted was very important. You've used those skills to now translate, so slide or move a 2D shape. So you have achieved that today, and you can do it with 1 instruction or 2 instructions. So that's excellent. You could even look into, some of you might want to look into coordinates of translation if you wanted a bit of a challenge. So what's going to be your task today? Well, outside of this lesson, we're going to create a little bit of artwork. I would like you to use what you've learned today to make your own artwork. Now, it's going to be a bit of a challenge because you're not actually just going to be using translation for this artwork. You're going to be using translation, but also a skill called rotation and reflection. I'll put, yeah, reflection. I will give you a little example of what this is, and it will be up to you to go and find out how you can best do this. So here is an example with the pencil. Here is an original drawing. This is the original drawing of the pencil, accurately done with a ruler, very important. that person has then translated that pencil over. That's the next first step to do. They've then reflected that pencil, which is harder to see because it's a pencil, but they then reflected it into the opposite way, and then they've rotated it. So you're going to have to go and find out what you need to do for the other two instructions, have a little practice, and you get to decide what you would like to translate, rotate and reflect. For example, they've done robots over here, pencils, they've done superheroes here, and here they've done smiley faces. We've got normal shapes, which are of course allowed to do, or a minion. So lots of different options. Okay, to end today's lesson, I'm going to move on to our challenger. Okay, so this is optional. If you would like to, you can stop the video now, go off and go and do your artwork. But if you would like to, you can have a go at these two challenger questions. They are, the first one is, a rectangle is translated from position A to position B. Complete the sentence. So what it's actually asking is, we're actually doing a question already knowing where the shape is. So you're going to have a read of that question, have a go. And the second question is, the triangle is translated so that point A moves to point B. Draw the triangle in its new position. That's a bit trickier, but I'd like you to have a go on your paper and see whether you can show me where the new triangle would go. Pause the video and have a go at this challenger. Okay guys, if you stayed and if you hung around to do our challenges, thank you very much. And here are the answers. So the rectangle translated from position A to B, and all you needed to really do was look at the corners like we have previously. So you would have looked at this corner here. You wouldn't have had to have done all four. You would have looked at one corner and know, and then see how many it's moved to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got to that line, so I know it's 6. Well, I'm not at the corner yet, so how many did it have to go up by? 1, 2. So it went 6 to get there, and then it went up by 2 to get to that corner. You don't have to do the others because we know that each corner does the same thing for translation. So you should have written, the rectangle has moved 6 squares to the right and 2 squares up. Next question was asking you to draw the new triangle. Now again, really all you needed to do was, you know that point A moved to where point B was. So if you were a little bit sneaky about it, all you had to do, guys, was, I'm doing a different colour, is actually go from point B and just draw, or I won't do it in that. All you had to do is go from point B and just draw the triangle. That's all you had to do, because you already know where it starts from. So those are today's challenges. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, doing some really precise, accurate mathematical drawings to be able to show you how to translate a 2D shape. Now I would like you to go and take what you've learned and go and make those really amazing pieces of artwork. I can't wait to see them. If you are in 4L or 4C, it would be really good if you could upload your artwork onto Google Classroom, and then we can put it onto our Jamboards for everybody to celebrate. So I can't wait to see. Have a really great weekend, and I will speak to you next week. Bye guys.